Hey everyone and welcome to another GameCast review. I'm Mark and today I'll be reviewing Monster Hunter World, now available for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. The Monster Hunter franchise has been growing steadily for quite some time now. Its humble beginnings on PS2 showed the world something quite different to what they were used to. Once it hit the PSP, the franchise became legendary in Japan, and it's steadily grown and finally it has culminated in Monster Hunter World. For those unfamiliar with this sort of game, Monster Hunter is a hunter-style game which is basically a subgenre of action-adventure and the easiest way to describe games like this. The basic structure goes like this. You pick a mission to hunt a beast, you journey to that location, you track down the beast and then wear it down until it can be slayed or captured. Then you gain materials from that beast as a reward and build various armors, each with different strengths, weaknesses and skills. This cycle then repeats over and over again until the credits roll. It's simple to grasp and very straightforward, and that's because there's so much going on in the background that it's hidden by its simple nature. Fortunately for newcomers, World has tucked a lot of that nitty-gritty stuff into the background, and it doesn't become a necessity until late or post-game depending on your playstyle and how thorough you want to be. The basics of gameplay have remained relatively unchanged. You pick one out of 14 weapon types available, travel to a multi-layered maze-like environment, then proceed to pick up anything that isn't tied down on your search for materials and loot. In previous games, we were pretty much thrown right into the deep end in terms of controls and the general flow of the game. Here there's a bit more of a sense of progression as the game teaches you what each button does as it becomes relevant to gameplay. That being said, the actual ins and outs of combat aren't really taught to you. There's an optional training room that can be accessed from your in-game house, which lets you try out each weapon type as well as gives you a quick overview of how they all work. For being a beginner-friendly Monster Hunter, it seemed strange that the most vital beginner's tool was tucked away like that. After some time though, everything starts to click. It's best to pick a weapon that resonates with you, as there isn't much point using a bowgun if you hate playing ranged. Once you have a good grasp of everything, the game starts to show its teeth, if ever so slightly. Monsters have increasingly complex designs and move lists, and it's up to you to pick your windows for attack. You might want to systematically wear them down, severing their tail, scarring their wings, or breaking their claws. You might prioritise knocking over the beast using the environment to your advantage for some quick traps or mounting opportunities. Or you might decide you work best with a team and fight together as one, drawing aggro or providing support when necessary. It may seem like all you do is hack and slash your way to victory, but there's a lot to think about in the heat of battle. As this is a huge leap both visually and technically, there are some changes as well. Now, thanks to the seamless transitions between each section of the map, monsters have a much higher chance to interact with one another. Most of these encounters end up in turf wars between beasts as they try to tear each other apart for encroaching on the other's territory. This not only gives you a visual spectacle, but it gives you a chance to recover and get some free hits in while your would-be prey is distracted. It gives a greater sense that this is a living, breathing world with clearly defined food chains and ecosystems. The new complex environments also lead into one of World's new combat features, sliding attacks. While moving around steep inclines, your hunter will begin sliding. Not only is this a great way to move to lower locations on a map, but it also gives you a new opportunity to attack by propelling yourself off the ground and becoming a bladed rocket of destruction. Or at least that's how it is if you play dual blades. Another new gameplay mechanic is the mantle system. These are basically temporary skills that you drape over yourself. These skills can range from added elemental resistances to activating glider capabilities and even doubling your vitality as long as the mantle itself holds out. I didn't really explore the system too much early on, but as the game progressed I realised just how much they can help out. Another feature that sits somewhere between a new mechanic and a revision of previous games is the slinger. This is a wrist-mounted crossbow-like device that allows for precision aiming when using projectiles like rocks and knives. It takes some of the guesswork out of lining up your character and it feels like a very natural addition. It can also get you out of a few jams with the right ammunition equipped. I can talk endlessly about all the changes to the original systems and what I liked and didn't like, but what it really boils down to is that the game is significantly easier than previous titles. Drops are better, monsters are weaker, auto-crafting is incredibly convenient, the new weapon upgrade system is fantastic, each armor piece now carries a full skill, and scout flies take the guesswork out of the hunt. Whether you agree with the changes or not is irrelevant, as it was Capcom's decision to introduce the most accessible Monster Hunter possible to the biggest audience. It succeeds in this on all fronts, however rest assured that while the heart of Monster Hunter isn't as prickly as previous entries, it is still definitely there. Just a larger majority of it is hidden behind post-game grinding and tempered beasts. Monster Hunter World is the most story-heavy mainline Monster Hunter game, which is the equivalent to saying Mario Odyssey is the most story-heavy Mario game. Sure, it has cutscenes and there was a bit more effort put into the overall structure of the background narrative, but it's still about hunting big monsters or saving princesses. This time around, the giant walking volcano Zora Magdaros has decided it's time to migrate to the new world and change the ecosystem while they're at it. As an old world hunter, you and your handler can't take this sitting down, and you join the hunter fleet in order to discover why it's decided to move out and to where. There's a little more complexity once you enter high rank, but it doesn't go much further, nor does it need to be. Much like Mario games, all you need is a direction, and then the gameplay can speak for itself. For the longest time, Monster Hunter has nailed its gameplay. Every new iteration just kept on polishing an already rock-solid formula to perfection. The one area they didn't really try to polish was the game engine. Sure, monsters did get more complex and their animations were incredible on handheld devices, but it still looked like a PS2 game. World has finally ditched the old engine and rebuilt everything in this shiny new HD feast for the senses. Now we have even more beautiful animations, partially destructible environments, specific monster-to-monster interactions, and particle effects as far as the eye can see. Seriously, the game loves its particle effects. The scout flies will fill your screen on a regular basis, and it will be just as distracting as it is beautiful. The new monsters look incredible. They're just a joy to watch and fight. Even returning monsters look fresh in the new engine. The new poster boy monsters Anjanath and Nergigante are quite original for the franchise, although I did get some Gore Magala vibes from Nergigante from time to time. Environments are jaw-dropping, and the Coral Highlands in particular is a highlight as it's so visually distinct from all other Monster Hunter games. The only issue is the scout flies tend to peel your eyes away from the smaller details, and you just end up following them like a traditional waypoint system, and you might not really be taking in the environment, which can be a problem when you want to find a location you'd been to before but don't have the flies to take you there. This is especially apparent with multi-layered environments, in particular the initial forest and the spiraling treetops. Armors, weapons and palicos look better than ever, with new monsters providing the basis for your new ensemble. Almost every armor in the game looks cool, which is great, as in previous games there used to be a small debate between practicality and looks. The character creators are pretty detailed, and they let you test your character against multiple environments to give you a sense of how they'd actually look in-game. This goes double for your palico. I'm not normally a cat person, but my palico was super adorable. I will say though that the HUD is too small, and I hate the fact that it fades away outside of battle. I liked always knowing my status in previous games. I don't like having to glance to the side when in the middle of a fight. I noticed some frame droppings in the main city from time to time, and during a few hunts when things got messy. The monsters also clip through environmental hazards quite regularly, which is a bit of a pain. Monster Hunter World may be easier, but it's still a ton of fun to play. The grindy gameplay doesn't feel as frustrating or unfair this time around, or at least in its earlier stages, and combat is still a chaotic ballet of breath attacks. I might not agree with some of the changes, but I can see it was all done for the improvement of the general experience. Even though it has a smaller roster than most other entries, there's still a ton of content, and free monster and environment updates will keep the hardcore player base happy. It's great to finally see the franchise taking the plunge into the next generation. The series is maturing, and it's hard to believe it's been around for as long as it has. I enjoyed myself over my 40 odd hours of the main quest, and I'd be keen to play more. If you're curious about the franchise and don't know where to start, then Monster Hunter World is probably worth a buy. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed that video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you'd like to see more from me, you can find me right here as part of the review team, or over at Arisen Culture. Until next time, bye!